What is up, guys and girls? Welcome back to Burn Quilla Painting. My name is Graham and welcome to episode 4. Today we're talking about rust. Now in this video I'm going to show you how I do my rust effects on my Warhammer, on my miniatures. In no way, shape or form I'm saying that I'm an expert on this. This is just how I do it. It's a couple of easy steps to show you guys how you can improve your weathering at home. As you can see, it's starting to pick up a little bit. In terms of visuals, it's getting a little bit better now. I've finished moving house. As I said in my last video, it's still a little bit of a transitional period for me, so it might change a little bit. Still a couple of things I'm not quite happy with, but we are getting there on the visual headshot kind of look of things. So I hope you enjoy. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. As I said, episode 4, let's paint some rust. So I don't usually start by doing much research on my minis, but this time I thought I'd give it a go and see what's out there. And it turns out if you type chipped armor into Google, it comes up with loads of different minis already painted. So remember, Google is your friend if you're ever in doubt of what to do, and there's loads of ideas already out there for you to have a look at. Another thing I don't usually do is write down what I'm going to do beforehand, what materials I'm going to use, things like that, but I thought I'd give it a go this time as well, and I found actually it really helped me through my process, and also remember what I actually did while recording these voiceovers later as well. So I definitely recommend writing down what you're doing. Keep a little book on your hobby desk to remind you what you do through your process. I've just got these new Artist Opus brushes and I've been using them for the last couple of days now, and these are the brushes I primarily will use through this video. If you guys want to see how well they turned out, what my thoughts and feelings are on them, let me know and I can put a little video together, a little review. I used them for the last couple of days now, and at the moment I'm really liking them. Let me know if you are interested in a little review of these brushes. So this is the mini that I'm going to be painting. It's a little Razorback that I painted up a couple of years ago when I first got my airbrush. This one hasn't been weathered that much whatsoever. I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to rust this up and show you with all its flat surfaces as well as details, different rusts and different weatherings on it.
Dice que está bien, que son solo amigos, socio, nada que ver. Le tiene contraseña a nivel pro al ser. Sé que algo oculta pero no sé qué es, yeah. Oiga señorita, quisiera decirle solo una cosita, que mi corazón todavía palpita. Pa' que no lo dañes, que ahí es donde tú habitas, tú no estás de visita. Ella sabe que sin montar que tenga mejor nada.
Thankfully I do keep it in different bits. I find it easier to paint in sub-assemblies. I actually kept it apart, so if I wanted to switch out a weapon choice or anything like that for the tabletop, I can. First thing I do is stick a little handle to the underside of the miniatures so I can grip it and not rub any paint off my hands. First thing you want to get is a little bit of sponge. This is absolutely great for like stippling little chips of the armor. Absolutely fantastic, a little secret weapon. So you want to pull a little bit of the sponge off so you get a rough random texture. Next I get my highlight color, in this case is obviously pure white, and I just add a little bit of that to my wet palette so I can dab the sponge into that. Now with sponge, what you want to do is get a good grip on it and dab it into your paint, and then basically get 90% of that paint off, so you're just left with a little bit that comes off, and it comes out looking like really good little scale chips. The secret here is to get enough paint off though. You don't want big globs of white paint, especially as it's going to be really hard to get off if you do, so make sure you're getting enough paint off. So what I do here is basically cover the whole Razorback in little chips on areas that I think chips would occur, so on sharp angles, corners, things like that, and then a couple on the inside on the flat surfaces of the Razorback itself. A good tip while you're doing the sponge technique is to rotate the sponge on every press against the miniature, just so you get the most random look of the sponge itself. You're not getting the same copy and pasted texture across the mini. You'll see I'm doing more chips towards the bottom rather than the top, and the reason for that is you'll get more damage close to the floor where your tracks are, where it's kicking up dirt and rocks and debris from the battlefield, and it's going to scrape and chip the armor more at the bottom rather than the top. Once you've covered your Mini to a desirable level of chips with the sponge, the next thing I do is get the same colour and get a fine brush and just go over some of the areas where you've done the chipping and just fill in some of the areas with a brush. This will give it a bit more of an area where you can do spots of rust or where a shell's hit the armour. You'll notice that on the front of the Rhino a bit later that you'll see where I've done that. It looks like a round has hit the armour of the Razorback. This just gives it a little bit more of a worn feel. You don't have to do this if you want it a slightly fresher rust, but I like a good rusty weathering. So take a fine brush and just fill in some of the spots of chipping that you've done in the previous step. It's similar to the previous step, as in you're going to have more damage to the bottom rather than the top, so just keep that in mind when you're going over with the fine brush. Next off, I do the exact same thing but with a silver, and do exactly the same but a little less than before. When I'm stippling off the paint on a piece of card or a piece of paper, take off a little bit more than you did when you did the white stippling at first. This just makes it look like the chip has gone right through all the paint, through the primer and to the bare metal of the Mini or the unit you're painting. It just gives it a little bit more depth to the rust and the chips. Honestly, stippling like this is the easiest way to get really nice chips on your Minis. I recommend anyone try it. It's really easy and you really don't need much effort to get a great looking result. After I've got all the silver down, I do go over with a brush again and do the exact same thing as the white. Just fill in some of the areas just to make it look like slightly larger areas. These are the areas that you can put like big clumps of rust where it looks like major damage has gone straight through the paint, hit the bare armor. Also, if you make any mistakes, just get that white paint again and just go over it again with the white. And the next step is on to your first layer of rust. I started with like a medium brown, but I quickly discovered that I didn't like it. I was using for the rust. Didn't like it at all. Thankfully I realised sooner rather than later. So I switched to the lighter orangey brown that I was going to use for the more highlights on the rust. Used that instead and then put a little bit black in it later on when I wanted it to darken down. And I really like that a lot more. I can't begin to tell you how much more I like the lighter orange rust that I started using instead of the medium one. It just looks so much more contrasty and just pops a lot more on the miniature. This is the same paint I'll be using later on, which I thin down and use for streaks. I was going to use two different colours, one for the rust and one for the streaks, and then blend them into each other, but I decided against it after seeing that first brown and went straight in on the orange. So while applying the orange, you're not really brushing it on, it's more of a stippling motion. So you're using the edge tip of the brush. I'm using a size 0 from Artist Opus here, but using the tip of the edge of the brush, you're just stippling the orange on where you've put the silver and highlight colour. At this point, try and get the brown orange a little bit above the previous steps, so it'll make it look like light has hit that bottom edge of the rust patch and just makes it look a little bit deeper, a little bit more 3D. The step after this will enhance that as well. These couple of steps can be quite laborious, it can be quite time consuming, but stick with it, don't rush it, just stay focused, you'll get there in the end and you'll be happy you did because it'll look amazing. While doing this process, start thinking of where you want little accents to be. Like on the front here of the Mini, I do a little star-shaped rust patch. This is where I decided I wanted an impact from a shell or a round to be. The next step is where we start to get the rust and make it look like proper rust, giving it that depth, giving it that layer, that 3D kind of effect where you want parts to look deep and other parts to look really grimy. So what I do is I get a little bit of black paint and I just add it to the brown that I'm using. You might ask why I just use a dark brown. I didn't want to use a dark brown because I didn't want those tonal qualities I liked so much from the light orangey brown to go away. I didn't want it to contrast that much. I still wanted it to have that same quality, but I wanted it just a little bit darker. What we do here is in the inside of the orange rust, not completely covering it, we're just adding that darker brown tone to the inside of the rust, again with that stippling motion. The key really here with any of the rust techniques in this video is not to brush the paint on. It is stippling, always stippling with the edge of the brush. Never with the tip of the brush because you damage the brush, but with just the very edge of the tip, just getting that stippling motion. It may take a little bit of practice, but once you've got it down, you'll be laughing. The best bit about painting rust is that you can't really go wrong. If you make a mistake, rust is a natural thing. It's not got any uniform to it. And if you do think you don't like something that you've done, it's so easy just to go back over with the previous colour and just cover it up. There's so much you can do with it, and it's so easy to do. And it just makes your minis pop that little bit more when they're on the battlefield. It's important to keep in mind that you're not covering up all the orange brown with the darker colour. You're just getting the inside of it, so you're having that tonal variety of that lighter orangey brown, and the closer to the centre of the rust you get, the darker it is. So that's what gives it that 3D effect. Also with rust not being uniform, try not to get it dead centre. Try to get it just off centre or closer to the top. That way you'll get it looking more natural. With the larger rust spots, what I like to do is get a little bit more black, mix it into the black and light brown mix that I already have to get an even darker brown, and just spot it inside the darker patches of rust, just giving it a little bit more character, a little bit more definition. It's not really noticeable, you don't have to do this. I like to do it just to give it a little bit more depth. Once you've done that, that is the rust actually done. That's it. Nice and easy. It's so simple to do rust. Is it the most realistic rust? No, but this way you're getting effective rust and weathering on your minis really quickly. If you want to up the amount of weathering even more, what you can do is add streaks to the sections of rust. This will make it look like rain or water has washed into the rust and washed it down the side of the vehicle or the army you're painting, making it look even more weathered. The way I do this is get the light orange brown that we were using before and watering it down to a wash consistency or a glaze consistency, really thin. Mix it with water and then add a little bit of medium. I've actually ran out of medium at this point, so I used flow improver, which does pretty much the same thing. It helps to keep it a little wetter for longer. So if you do make any mistakes, what you can do is just get a wet brush and wash it off, and none will be the wiser, and then try it again. The way I do streaks is get a very fine brush with a large body. In this instance I'm using a size 1 from Artist Opus, and with the very tip of the loaded brush I'm just drawing down vertical lines down the side of the vehicle. You always want your drips and running effects perpendicular to the floor, so at a right angle to the floor, because that's the way gravity is going to pull it right down. You don't want it to squiff or at an angle. This way you're going to get more realistic running effects. Once you've done that, your rust is all done. There are 2 extra little bits that I want to go over just really quickly. If you want more detail to it, let me know in the comments, and I can actually get another video on more of an intermediate weathering in another video, so let me know if you're interested in that. But next what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of Typhus Corrosion, which is a texture paint or a technical paint, and it's like an oily consistency with some grit in it, and it makes it look like dirt, and if you layer it up it'll also look like rust. Really good for any Nurgle weapons you do or anything like that, but also in small quantities it's great for rust effects and mud. What I've done is added it to the bottom of the Razorback just so it looks a little bit more muddy, a little bit more texture to it. Also what you can do is put it in little creases and crevices around your mini, just where like grime and oil and grease would build up on a tank. As you can see, I'm adding Typhus Corrosion to strange spots on the Razorback. What I'm doing is adding into the swing down doors. As you can see, there's hinges at the bottom and these teeth at the top, so when it swings down it hits the dirt. These teeth dig in to the dirt, into the battlefield, so they're not going to be clean. So what I'm doing is adding a little typhus corrosion. It looks like that door is swung down as Space Marines have charged out for the assault. Once I've done that, I use a little secret weapon that I don't see many people using, which is pigments. Do not use a nice brush. As you can see, I've switched out my Artist Opus brushes for an old brush. You will ruin your brushes with this stuff because you're scrubbing in the pigment into the areas. Pigments are great. They're literally just the powder form paint. There's no moisture in it at all, it's just powder. And what you can do with them is make things look really dusty or really like caked on mud. What I use here is a mud pigment, and I get a dry old brush and I just dip the end of the brush in the pigment, tap most of it off, and then just scrub it into areas where I think it would look really good. Because I added that typhus corrosion on before with that texture to it, the pigment paint really clings onto it, making it look really muddy and rusty. Just be careful when you're applying pigments, because if you put too much on, it can go really wild really quick. You want to keep in control of the pigment. So what I recommend and how to use it is just a little and often. Added a few little tips with the typhus corrosion and the pigment powders, just to say thank you for your support, guys. You guys have been absolutely amazing. The response I've got from my last couple of videos has been awesome, so thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as you have the last ones. So if you do, give it a like, give it a subscribe, hit that little bell button for any notifications, and share amongst your friends. If you've got people that are also into the hobby, let them know about my videos. Share the videos on their pages and stuff, it would be much appreciated. And there you have it. Your rust and weathering is done. So that is how I do my rust effects. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have taken something so you can implement onto your minis at home as well. So let me know in the comments if you found it interesting. Let me know in the comments how you're going to use that on yours. And if there's anything I can improve on, let me know as well. I'm always willing to improve and find ways that I can improve my work as well. And as always, don't forget to hit that like button, smash that little bell icon so you don't miss any notifications on my upcoming videos. If you like it, hit that like button, leave a comment, let us know what you think of the video. Leave a comment below if you want to see anything that I haven't done yet. If you've got any ideas for videos or anything like that you want to see me attempt, I'm always up for finding new things to do or trying new things. Also, if you have a hobby friend that you think they would enjoy my videos, don't forget to share it with them as well. If you like these videos, guys, I have started a playlist with all of them in one playlist, so you can watch them all together without any interruptions. Yeah, go check it out. It's the burnt acrylic painting tutorials, and then I've got another one with all the videos for this channel. So be that tutorials, little vloggy bits or anything like that, all be there. Any games that I play, obviously not at the moment with quarantine, but anything like that will be in the big one, and then all the tutorials will be in a separate one. So go check them out on the playlists. And as always, this has been Burnt Acrylic Painting, and until next time, peace.